Welcome everyone to the Spark the Genius show. I'm your host, Spark the Genius, and I am here to spark the genius within you. It is February 21st, 2022. We have a special guest. Well, we always have a special guest, but this is extra special today. It is Tumelo Setlaba. I probably didn't say that right, but she can correct me in a moment because I have to start off with my theme song, which I always improvise, so I don't know what I'm going to do here. So let's see. Welcome to Spark the Genius. Today we have Tumelo Setlaba. She's like some kind of internet expert. Oh, see, I should have asked you for... Here, give me a word. Anything.
Squirt.
Let's see. And
Albert.
What's the other one?
Albert.
Albert. Okay, so I really should have thought about how I'm going to improvise a song.
This is going super well.
Words. She's given. She's gonna squirt out info. Forget it. All right.
Oh boy, that took a left turn.
But that's how we do things here. It's just about doing it, not waiting until it's good, because then I would never be doing a show. As you can see, if anybody can see the video right now, my microphone that I've been using for 15 years, the little attachment doesn't work anymore, so I'm attaching it with a paper, a duct tape roll here, and it looks ridiculous. But every day I improve. The last time because I'm using Riverside for the second time today, and last time I just used my iPhone headphones, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna step it up today because we've got like an international guest, and I thought I would see how this audio works. And it's a nice contrast to the audio that you have, because you're just using your computer mic, and you're sitting, I feel like you're sitting on an airport tarmac based on the background noise. But
I'm sitting in sunny South Africa.
Oh, you are in South Africa?
I am.
Because I was going to say, when we started talking, I was going to say, well, clearly your accent is from South Africa. But for some reason, when I saw you on LinkedIn, I thought you were like in Europe or something. Were you at some point?
Yes, I'm usually based in the Netherlands, but I've come down to South Africa to see my family. So I'm sort of getting best of both worlds, a bit of sunshine, but I think it's a little bit safer this side because there's a hurricane happening in Amsterdam. So my timing was perfect.
Yes, I was in South Africa to shoot a commercial, I don't know, like 15 years ago, but I remember it was probably this time of year, and it was summer, and our chaperone told me, you got to come back in Canadian winters, and all the models from Europe come here, and we'll just be hanging out. And I was like, yes, I'm going to come every week, and I have not come back. But
you must prioritize this. This is one of the best places in the world.
Yes, well, 2 years ago I sold my condo so I could be a digital nomad. I'm like, yes, now I can finally go who knows where, South Africa, and then the pandemic started and I haven't gone anywhere, but whatever. I'm vaxxed, I'm relaxed, I'm ready to travel, so I will come there.
Well, it seems like you've been doing a pretty good job online so far, given your track record with your podcast and all the amazing things you're doing online. So that's good, because I suppose that's what was the catalyst to our meet.
Yes. That's what I've been trying to do. I figured, you know what, I can't travel. Let me do as much as I can online. And it kind of, it's like it almost all came together, because 2 years ago, I was thinking, I'm going to interview people remotely, but that just seemed weird. I thought, no, I got to be like Joe Rogan. People have to come to my studio and sit with me. It seemed weird to do Zoom. And even 5 years ago, I was researching with a friend who lives in New York now, and I'm like, can we do a podcast together? And he was looking into software that was going to cost like $5,000 to be able to record together, and we just never did it. But now, clearly, we've got this. And so I was just waiting, and I timed it all.
We've got it going on.
Yes, so I'll tell our audience how we met. Let's see, a week ago, somebody named Angela Milosevic, senior brand designer at Squarespace, posted, and I'll hold this up for our YouTube viewers, just a website, I guess, a Squarespace website, Zendaya.com, that they made, and I guess actually I never watched the commercial, but it looks like Andre 3000 was narrating it, and there was a Squarespace, and then, is it Tumelo? How would I say this?
Yes, spot on.
Tumelo left a long comment. I'll read it all. Nice website, but what's the call to action besides signing up? Am I signing up to news about Zendaya? Other than that, why would I visit the website again then? Is it a fan page or a digital Z card? It's a nice compilation of her work to scroll through, but I'm wondering if a visitor to the site could get more out of the website, like even a contact us for agencies who might be interested in working with Zendaya, or a blog by Zendaya herself to build a community and a bit of a voice and tone to the site. The About page, and in Canada I say the About page, no, that's American, anyway, is a bit copy heavy and feels like it repeats what the rest of the site depicts. This is not a roast at all, no, not at all, but more of a curious analysis. We as users take the lead from you, the creators of Squarespace, for best practice, so perhaps this can invite learnings on my side if I may have missed something in my analysis. 57 likes, 14 replies. One of the replies was, all good questions. Let's chat about it on my podcast. I want ideas for what to put on a Squarespace site for me. I want a cool replacement for the neglected Blogger and WordPress blogs I've had for 20 years. My new moniker is Spark the Genius in my attempt to be 1/1000th as cool as Zendaya. And then you must have replied, let's do it, or something. So that, oh wait, one reply? Wait. Yeah, I don't even see the reply. Oh yeah, I'm game, let's do it. That was you. So that was a lovely passive-aggressive comment on the Squarespace post. But I loved it because I was like, yes, here's somebody who knows about websites and knows what to put in them. And so I got excited. So here we are. And yeah, I usually, who's the guy that doesn't do research before his interviews? I think it's, it was Larry King. He just likes to go in cold. And so I kind of like to do that too and just learn with the audience. So let me look at your LinkedIn. It says Web3 enthusiast, fashion, supply chain, blockchain, sorry, sneezing, e-commerce, Antler, and ex-Uber.
Oh.
Sorry, there we go. Ex-Uber and University of KwaZulu-Natal, and then it says Amsterdam area. Oh, so that must be where I got the Amsterdam. Okay. So, so you're in South Africa, but normally you live in the Netherlands. I guess you could give us sort of a summary of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into something.
Yeah, sure. Sure, I think this is a case in point that expression and tone is the one thing that's missing on the internet. So I think, translation in terms of expression might be mixed up, but maybe my background might give a bit of context on my comment and analysis. I am a product manager by profession. I've been in the e-commerce industry virtually my entire career. My passion really lies in fashion, and so it was a great start in my career to be a back-end product manager for an online fashion retailer, which was one of the biggest in South Africa. So I suppose that's where my learning began. And it really was a very technical role in that I worked with engineers, but I must say it's one of the best roles you can really take on if you really want to learn about a business really quickly, especially an online one. So I think that was sort of the beginning of my career, and I've then continued to be a customer experience manager, which really was one of my favorite jobs because it was really just to look at the end-to-end shopper experience and to pinpoint the pain points really of the user experience and to build a business case for it and then to execute the solution. But just before I had time to execute the solution, I was then poached by Uber Eats and moved to Johannesburg, which is one of the major cities in South Africa as well. And before that, I was in Cape Town. Very lucky girl, living in some of the best places in the world. So I suppose, my comment was based on the sort of conversations you almost have to have in the workplace, which is entirely technical and very much intention-driven. I think one of the fun parts about building a website is that you really get to pour your heart and sort of create an art piece out of what it is that you produce or create or develop. But one thing that is a real reality to a lot of us is that there has to be an intention, a reason, a call to action to why everything is done. And really, it's for future success and for future benefit, because you've got the likes of search engine optimization, which are categorically driven by the copy on the website, and the amount of activity that happens on the website and the traffic on the website. And so really considering those things well in advance, I suppose sets you up for success. And I think in the role that the roles that I managed to find myself in, they really sparked a curiosity that emphasized objectivity versus subjectivity in order to reach the KPIs and to reach the ultimate goal of success with the website.
KPIs, what does that stand for?
Key performance indicators. So those are the numbers that the business people look at. One of them could be traffic, one of them could be conversion, one of them could be how far along in the website you end up and where you taper off. So they're all sort of signifiers of where your users finding your website interesting and where they're deriving any interest, and what you can do with that moving forward.
Yeah, this is all good information, because my personal website journey, I guess it was probably about 20 years ago or something. I think it was before even YouTube existed. I thought I should have a website, and people were like, Josh, you're so creative, you should have a website. I didn't know what to do, so I can't even remember how I made this. There was a girl who was the girlfriend of an art director at the ad agency where I was working, and she made me a website, and it looked good. I drew out the alphabet, and she made a font out of my handwriting, and she put, I guess, a couple of videos, like links to my MySpace or something, but I never really knew what it was for. And then I think eventually I just made a blogger where I would occasionally post, or Blogspot, I think they're called both things, and it's like, this is what I'm up to. And then I had a MySpace, and I was always obsessed with who would be my top 9 friends, and I would try to look cool, like I knew lots of girls. And then I guess eventually I transferred the blogger to a WordPress blog, and I would occasionally post on it. But then when Facebook started, or I guess around 10 years ago, I just basically started posting on there. But the problem if you post everything on a social media site is that they own it, and they can shut you down if they want, or you don't get any money from people visiting the site. And then a few years ago, I met a woman who builds websites that are she made her own platform because she made millions online, and this has tools to make money online, but I never really knew what to do with that either. Like, it's a blog or whatever, so I'm still figuring that out. And then lately I've been like, you know what, my WordPress is ugly, maybe there's something else I can do. There's a girl I listen to, she's always interviewed on a podcast, the James Altucher Show, and I looked at her website. She's kind of like me, she has like a couple of different podcasts and all these different businesses, and her site looked good, and I asked her, and she used something called Show It or something, but I guess it's kind of like, it looks like they sort of build it based on WordPress, but they put in cool features and everything. And then when I saw Zendaya's page on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, see, there you go. Like, she's one person who has her website, but I did scroll through it like you did, and I'm like, but yeah, what is the point of this? Like, it's got a bit of about her, but there was no, like, maybe there was, but I don't know if there was like a sign up for a newsletter, or here's my community, or here's my store. So that's what I've been struggling with, and I thought, okay, well, this Tumelo person is obviously knows what she's doing, and I thought, okay, we could have like a little quick brainstorm about what I could put on my website, whether I need one. I feel like I need one, because I feel like, you need one place to send people, and for me lately that's been maybe my Linktree that I put in my Instagram bio, but I feel like now Linktree's getting all my traffic, and they're making money off my traffic, and I want to own something online.
Yeah, I think one of the best takeaways from your journey is that you've really taken advantage of the new technologies and the new tools that pop up as time goes, and I think that has happened almost exponentially in the last couple of years. And I think that's come with great benefit. I mean, initially we needed graphic designers and people with expert skills to transform, to change fonts, etc. And now we have the ability to use tools like Squarespace and even Canva to create somewhat beautiful looking pieces of artwork on the internet. And I think that just creates opportunity for greater expansion and greater creativity. Because people who used to be, say, graphic designers have now moved on to be UX UI designers, and people who were professional engineers and developers 5 years ago now have an opportunity, and in fact everybody has an opportunity to become a blockchain engineer, which is something relatively new, and which means Web3, by the way. When I say blockchain, I'm specifically referring to Web3. We're all starting at the starting lineup. So I think I really commend you, and I really admire the fact that you've really sought out to find the right platform for you. And I think it was a good start, and I have done the same thing to try to find an identity through programs and tools like Squarespace. But at the end of the day, and I think you touched on this a little bit, that they are actually lucrative opportunities when it comes to creating what I would call digital assets on the internet. And of course, when you talk about digital assets from a Web3 perspective, you might be leaning towards the NFT space. But in this regard, I really mean things like websites or ebooks or questionnaires or downloadables, anything really that creates some sort of value for someone. And we touched on community in the comment, saying it would be really nice for Zendaya to maybe, I don't know, write a few blogs every now and then. And the beautiful thing about the internet right now is that if you just write for yourself and you're true to who you are and what it is that you aspire to and what it is that you want, a community builds around you. And I think that's one of the best parts about having websites. But again, and like everything in life, you kind of have to be a little bit strategic and a little bit intentional in your approaching your project. And I think they're beautiful alternatives at the moment. I was just looking at, there's google.site, which is a very simplistic version of a website, pretty much drag and drop. I think you can have somewhat of a customization, a few numbers and letters and then your name there. That's something you could do in an hour, and I mean that because I'm not always the most tech savvy when I first start using something, and I actually found it quite user friendly. But for me, aesthetics really matter. I'm in the fashion industry, I'm in e-commerce, and I really genuinely like pretty looking things. So that wasn't the best option for me, but sometimes you just need something that's going to do. Sometimes you just need a footprint, a digital footprint. Which I think also aligns with your ethos, Josh, where you knew that you wanted to start a podcast, and you sort of said, well, if I don't start now, I'm never going to do it. So I think all these tools really do create shortcuts for us and give us the ability to really create a world that we want. And sometimes it takes forever, and sometimes it's just a click away. So I think that's what's super fun about playing around on the internet at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everybody should print out what she just said and read it every morning. It's good inspiration. But yeah, it's kind of, because I just had some quick thoughts. Like, when I was originally talking to Emma, I think, who's the one who made my website, I remember looking into okay, can I build something else? Or she wasn't helping me anymore. And back then, I was talking to people, it's going to be $15,000 to build a basic blog or website. I'm like, what? So I just never did it. And then I eventually bought a template, something called newspaper for my WordPress, because I thought, it's going to look like I'm going to be Perez Hilton. I'm going to have different articles every day, my funny comments on celebrity gossip, then the newspaper template, I have to keep updating it every month, and it just never looked good. And I've just let it slide, and now I'm just using my basic old, the basic WordPress default.
And just on that, Josh, sorry to interject, but that's one of the things, and I must correct myself a little bit earlier by saying, there are some graphic designers who then turned into UX UI, and that's not to say that, the traditional roles that we know are necessarily being replaced. And that's sort of the example that you're alluding to, when you started off with the template, and then it actually became a little bit difficult for you to continue. And that is one of the disadvantages of having a template. It could look super pretty, But in terms of moving forward and building on top of it and becoming an e-commerce platform and then becoming a marketplace and then becoming, that ends up needing quite a bit of technical intervention. And from what I've heard from a lot of engineers, it's almost not worth it. That legacy that comes with the template is just, it's a bit of a nag. So sometimes, and I think you did this in this case, is to just go with the professionals. Depends on what you want. It depends on how much time you have. It depends what conversions you need and how soon.
Yeah. So, I guess so. Because I started looking at, thinking, okay, should I do a Squarespace or Wix? And everybody was advertising those. But for everything I read about online, people would say, oh no, like if you pay for Squarespace, now you're paying them and they're getting the traffic and they can shut you down. Like you really have to make your own WordPress and own it all and have a self-hosted WordPress. So that's why I've resisted using those sort of template things like Wix and Squarespace. And then just in terms of Canva, because you mentioned that, and yeah, I've been reading about that for years, and then finally a couple of months ago I thought, well, let me sign up and see if I can try making my own logo for my podcast, because I've been talking to graphic designers on Facebook and I never liked what they were doing, so I was trying to come up with a logo and merchandise, and I figured out how to make my own logo. I kind of poked around in it and I'm like, this is actually kind of good, and I showed it to some graphic designers and they would make suggestions. I'm like, they're just adding things to add things. Like I still like my original, even though I'm not a designer, but I like to think visually. And then I was trying to figure out how to get drawings into the computer, and I bought this drawing tablet like 4 years ago, a Wacom tablet here, and I never used it because I found it hard to use. But then when I signed up for Canva, it turns out somebody told me they've got a new drawing feature, like, because I was trying to figure out, like, do I have to use Illustrator? Cool. I was researching classes, and it's going to take like 5 years, and I'm like, I don't want to let. But then they've got a drawing feature that I can use right away. I'm like, oh, so I started using the tablet. So, and now I can draw a cartoon and put that on a t-shirt or something. So I'm all excited about that. And then, I guess just trying to figure out, like, what, like, I bought an extension from this other woman I met who made this thing where if you ask people, like, what their email address is when they're joining your Facebook group, it imports it into a Google Doc for you, and now you can have, like, a mailing list, although I don't know what to do with the mailing list yet. And I tried logging into MailChimp, and they said, well, you signed up 5 years ago but never used it, so we deleted it. I'm like, And then... so I want something with a mailing list, and
well, there's an opportunity right there, right? So regardless of what size your website is, it might just be a landing page, but you could have, most CMS tools do have the ability to just have a pop-up and a downloadable. And if you just create a bit of value for your visitor, where you go, are you trying to figure out how to become a podcaster? Download my ebook and experience, and let me share my experience with you. And all I need you to do is input your email address, right? And then there's almost like there's consent there, and there's an indication of genuine interest for what it is. I mean, most of the time, right? And then you can use your Google Analytics to see how true it is. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's as simple as creating what I refer to as a digital asset that you're genuinely giving to your user before you require anything from them, that then sort of catches their attention and forms some sort of commitment, and then you've got them on your mailing list. And sometimes a mailing list is, like you said, it's just an Excel spreadsheet with email, 50, 100, 200, whatever, and just email those people, right? And I think it starts from there, is that authenticity. But I say this with a pinch of salt from myself, because I've tried many times as well, and it's easier to say than to do. But there are options out there to, you sometimes don't need all the frills, but the frills are fun.
Yeah, no, I like all the frills. And I've been thinking about what to do with the newsletter. Like this girl, Jen, like, so the James Altucher show, I keep talking about it, but it really is a large part of my life now, because I listen to it every morning for an hour while I jog, and it's the most interesting thing I've found online, because he just, like, he's like a genius guy. So he'll interview people about what's going on in the Ukraine, or what's the future of synthetic biomedicine or whatever. But then he's also got mini-series within his podcast. So he's got one called I Will Make You a Millionaire, where he coaches people to make $1 million. And this girl, Jen Glantz, that he's been coaching, the one I was saying that does all these different things like I do, he's been coaching her to start different newsletters. Like, her original job was bridesmaids for hire. She would like be a bridesmaid for people, and so she's got a newsletter for that. But then he coached her to start another newsletter, the first years of marriage, and now she does another one called Odd Jobs, where she talks about different odd jobs. And so she does those all in Substack, but I think on her main website, like her Show It page, there's a Substack page or something, and you can sign up for all the different. It's all complicated. But and you were talking about NFTs. I just saw she tweeted yesterday. Here's an NFT, and it's just a graphic saying coaching call with me. And normally it would be $250 for an hour, but it's like $26 or to sign up for. And I was thinking of doing it, and then just saying, okay, but for our coaching call, I'm recording it for my podcast, so it all ties in. But I guess that's what I've been struggling with too, and she's even struggling with, like, she does so many different things. Should she focus on one? And James told her, no, it's good to do different things. You don't know what's going to hit. Like, I mean, eventually you'll hit a limit of too many things, but she's got about 5 or 6 businesses on the go, and that's fine. So I've been struggling with, okay.
I think the opportunities to really extend content without spreading yourself too thin. And I do think it's worthwhile having a portfolio of digital assets, but again, not spreading yourself too thin to the point where you actually neglect the platforms that you have. Of course, do as much as you can, but there are sort of cheat sheets out there where, you know, you can turn what is a webinar into an audio, and then you can transcribe that and turn that into a blog, and then transcribe that or make that shorter and turn it into captions on Twitter. And that's just from one sort of moment of content creation, but then you sort of stretch it out.
Yeah.
I think there are also laws, rules that you have to follow for each channel. You don't treat Twitter the same as you treat Instagram in the same way. It just doesn't work that way. And also, they're just different audiences on those different channels. Sure, there are communities, I think, that are representative of most of the world, but we know that the Gen Zs are, you know, more inclined to use TikTok than certainly the millennials, I think the statistics say, right? And that's something important to know if you are, you know, talking about, or I don't know, covering something that is like Gen Z specific. So a bit of your audience research, I think, goes a long way. Unfortunately, very contrary to today's culture, building a digital asset sometimes just takes a bit of time and patience. And I think that's where we lose a lot of our digital heroes, where people get discouraged. I mean, starting a YouTube channel, you know, it's consistency. You know, it's being reliable, you know, your audience knowing exactly when to expect and what to expect from you. You just described a podcaster who was, you know, talking about teaching people how to be millionaires, whatever. It's expectation, right? And sometimes you don't have to be at all, right? So that people just know what they're going to get from you, huh? And
and that's really what my head's been spinning about the past couple of months, because like I've been on YouTube since the beginning, but I've still only got like 20, like, you know, for 15 or years or maybe 20 years now, and I've still only got about 2,000 subscribers, and I'm monetized, but it's $10 a month or something, so it's not useful. And it's just been a random collection of anything. I've been treating it like my Facebook, so it's got, here's a short film I made, here's me talking about my lunch, here's me summarizing my day, oh, but here's my podcast interview. And so part of what I've been trying to figure out is, and what I've been researching lately, talking about, like, should I make 2 YouTube channels? It's like, yeah, YouTube really wants to know what you're doing. Like, if you're the conservative politics guy, then it will know you're that, and it will show you to other people who like those things, and that's what people are waiting for. They're not also looking for your vlog about your keto diet or whatever. So I've been struggling with, okay, so where am I putting this Spark the Genius podcast? Do I just put these episodes on my existing YouTube and start a new YouTube called, you know, Spark Vlogs, where I just post about my day? Or do I go the other way, like just, okay, use my existing channel for my stupid vlogs or whatever and start a new one called Spark the Genius Podcast and go back and upload my past 50 episodes fresh? And that's where people know, like, every day they come for an hour interview with some life coaching thing. And then I've been struggling with the same thing for my podcast, because I do, like, I watch so much about politics and I think about it so much, and I realize I'm not producing any content on that, but I think that would definitely not be good if, like, in between my Spark the Genius life coaching, and now here's me ranting about, you know, whatever, something controversial. I feel like I should start separate. So I was thinking of using a new podcasting service because I was researching that, and there's a new one that it's free if you have 2 or 3 podcasts, and then also they transcribe it for free. What you were just talking about, like I could get a free transcription, and then I can put that on the blog, and so that'll be another SEO way of doing it. So, what do you think of? Like that idea. Like you're on my show now. Like what? Because I was researching last week, just looking up what are the categories on Apple Podcasts, and because I was thinking, oh, I'm a comedy interview, I'm celebrity news, I'm life coaching, but that's none of that can be the same thing. So I was like, okay, maybe what if I go to self-improvement and entrepreneurship, and there's this, but then, and then, is that my YouTube channel, and I put my vlogs somewhere else, or just forget my vlogs, or just put those on Facebook?
Yeah. So I understand. It sounds like one would think it's a nice problem to have because it probably means that you know a lot and probably super talented at a lot of things. So I can understand, though, how that can be a little bit frustrating. But I can only speak from my own personal experience. And I don't know if you've come across the Ikigai
I've done.
diagram.
At the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing Zoom calls with coaches and all this stuff, and a few people were talking about the Ikigai, and it's basically, the Japanese idea of looking for your purpose in life, and there's this Venn diagram. So one is like, what does the world need? What can you make money doing? What do you enjoy doing? And something else, or maybe it's the 3, and
Exactly.
and then you find whatever is the thing in the middle. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I simplified it a little bit, and it wasn't necessarily my life purpose, although I think that is what it's supposed to do. But I mean, a bit, high touch than that. It was sort of like, well, that's what I'm going to be. That's who I'm going to be on the internet, right? It's going to be a bit of me, and I think that is what makes you unique, right? It's like your combination of skills, but then you have got to package that in a way that does represent you as an individual, right? And maybe that's difficult, but I think there are templates out there are tools out there like the Ikigai that can help you, not necessarily to cure your existential crisis that you might be having, but certainly to have a bit of a focus on what it is that what your message is, what the point of being on the digital, on your, on the internet. And I think this also brings up a really important topic about, who you are online and who you are as a person. And I think there's this high pressure. I know I sometimes feel it, which is to be as authentic as possible and to give all of me, and that's metaverse-esque. That's where we're heading towards, where we have a strong presence and personality online. But it doesn't have to be that black and white. You can share some parts of you, and you can keep some of your own, some parts to yourself.
Yeah.
So and it just depends. Are you running a business?
That's an actual question. Am I running a business?
Yeah.
No. I mean, all I've been doing, like, I was working as a copywriter at ad agencies for my career, and then, like, 6 years ago I left that. I'm going to try working on my own. In retrospect, I probably should have gone back to the job. It was a cool job. We shot a commercial in Cape Town, and I got to stay there for free. Nice. But there's nothing yet, so I've just been doing some freelance copywriting and some voice acting with this mic. So that's kind of my income, and I was also doing some investing. But I haven't figured out what my business is yet. Like, I listen a lot to this podcast, the Kathy Heller Show, or it used to be called Don't Keep Your Day Job, and she makes tens of millions of dollars now just from doing a podcast talking about be yourself, there's abundance out there, or whatever. So I like that kind of thing. But yeah, that's been the struggle as well. Like, what is my business? And I want it to be scalable. Like, I don't want to do something where my business is coaching people by the hour or something, because there's a limit to how much time I have. I want it to be bigger than that.
Yeah, sure. And I think then that's important, right? And if you are running a business, then the core basics. You've got to have marketing. You've got to have some form of income. You've got to be generating some form of income. There's certain aspects of a business that you just can't compromise on, and I think that also makes you hyper focus on what it is that you actually need to do to get your business running, essentially. And I think also there need not be an obsession about having these success stories all over the place. You have a unique story. I mean, you just said, I don't know what my business is. Well, then write a blog about that, right? Or write everything that you've just said. Like, man, I've tried everything and I don't know what to do, da da da. And I think use the skills that you have. I think you did an exceptional job on LinkedIn by just plugging yourself in there, and now you have like one more viewer, and that's me, or listener, and yeah, using your strengths and using your story, and it's easier said than done. Trust me, I dish it out, but I definitely can't take it all. But it's worthwhile. And there's I think his name is Mark Manson or something, and he wrote I might have mispronounced his name, but he wrote the Art of Not Giving an F.
Yeah.
Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Right?
Yeah, James.
And that was like a tongue-in-cheek book. We were all like, right, like, well, you can't say that. You should probably say something way more scientific and philosophical or whatever. But it was simple, straightforward, and he's literally built an entire career on that. He just gives candid advice. That's actually pretty uplifting, but that isn't so so heavy, right? So I would say
a lot of it is branding. Like James was talking about that recently.
100%.
I think he was interviewing, I'm getting confused on my podcast now, but I think he was interviewing the woman who wrote a book called Badass Women, or Being a Badass Entrepreneur or something. And now she's got like her badass empire. And a lot of it is the branding. And he said, he talked about how the Art of Not Giving an F was like the biggest book, and it might not work today, but back then there was nothing like that, and people noticed it because of the name. But it was just, it's just a traditional entrepreneurship or whatever. But when you give it a fun name, and that's why I came up with the name Spark the Genius, because I was like, my regular name is hard to spell, hard to pronounce, whatever. Here's something that's visual and memorable. I remember Ty Lopez, I was watching some Instagram live with him a few years ago, and he was saying, like, if you've got a name that's hard to spell or hard to remember, give yourself a new name. And so, like, he gave the example of Faith Popcorn, who's like a futurist, and she predicts trends, and she's got a cool name, Faith Popcorn. But her real name, I researched, is just Faith Plotkin, like it's a Jewish name, but people kept mispronouncing, and she thought popcorn sounded like Plotkin or something. So and then just to tie in, you were talking about being authentic. James was interviewing this guy a couple of days ago who he wrote a book. I forget what it is, but the episode's called How to Be a Superhero. And this guy researched how people can come up with an identity in their head that's like a superhero, or somebody, maybe you're a Jedi in your head, and it actually changes your performance. If you have a little, like he coached a kid, gave him a wristband that said, you're Paul Bunyan. And when he looks at the Bunyan side where it says Bunyan, he can hit baseballs farther or something. And he said,
for sure.
He says everybody tries to be authentic online, but there is no authentic. There is no one little thing that is you. Like, you can create, there's different parts of yourself. You can invent a new part of yourself. And what you're talking about, how, maybe you don't need to be completely authentic online all the time. It's true, like, because I think partly why I post...
Well, I mean, it's probably advisable to be authentic, but you don't have to spill your guts out on the internet. You don't have to give your everything, because sometimes your audience doesn't really require that, or sometimes you don't even want that.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's just, I'm the curious guy who knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
Right? And then you don't have to be, the simpler the better, I would say. And just not feeling that pressure of having to display all of your skills all the time. And I am one to say, because one of my favorite quotes is, do it all without missing out. But they're different outlets, and sometimes like the internet doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, and I think part of why I do that is because it's almost like a diary. Like, I feel like I need to record my every thought and my every misery, and I want to share it to the world so I feel like I'm not alone, because I don't have a wife to talk to or kids or anything. But the world doesn't need that. And I think people do, I don't know. I mean, it's a struggle. It's like, why do I do this? Why am I pouring out everything? Because you can curate yourself, and that's not cheating by just being positive online or saying I'm the curious guy. And I follow lots of YouTubers that I don't see their everyday foibles, but I like hearing them talk about movies or politics or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's enough. Like I don't don't
Yeah.
need to see them lying
Exactly.
in bed going, "Oh, I'm afraid of dying," like every night. Like, so maybe it's fine to curate. But in terms of being authentic, just James talks about how he was a financial blogger and he did okay. But once he started talking about his own failures, how he lost $1 million and then gained it back and then lost $1 million again, that's when he blew up. So even the intro to his book, like I've got 4 of his books from the library, or three from the library right now, and it says, I'm the guy who for some reason turns myself inside out and dumps myself out on the internet. But I mean, it works for him. But who knows how much we're also not hearing. But also he's rich and famous now, so he can get away with all that. But also, I look at who I follow. Like I like following like positive people like Tony Robbins or Dean Graziosi, because I'm like, yeah, they can tell me. And I'm sure they've got their own issues, but I don't necessarily want to watch somebody else being depressed all the time. I want to hear people being positive. But also, in terms of psychology, you can trick yourself into being somebody different. If you smile, even though you don't feel happy, your brain thinks you're happy, and then you become happy. So if you're on the internet all the time saying, I am successful, I am the genius, I mean, that's legit. You don't have to be like, oh, but I feel insecure, so I better sit here and whine for a while. You can become a superhero.
Because I think, you can't believe everything you see on the internet, right? So, and you can't take it as gospel. So yes, I'm sure there are some people who show certain sides of themselves, and that's also okay. And just back to the authenticity bit, and maybe just a different perspective, as one thing that I definitely have appreciated is that there's less expectation about perfection of content, and I think that's changed over time. One of the strongest reasons why that's the case is because of good old COVID. The standards sort of slid a bit, right? We didn't expect everyone to be too perfect because we're all working from home and we're all trying our best, and there's no reason to just shut someone down because they use this. There was a kinder viewer suddenly. And also because of the wake of, if you think about it, when Instagram came out, the algorithm really cared about well-curated, consistent content, right? And you had to, post at specific times of the day, and you really had to track when your audience is, active, and and we all had those grid designs. You remember that? And we had filters, very specific filters, and that still happens today. But the real doesn't need that, right? That's a new feature on Instagram. The reel does not need that, and in fact, it necessitates that you're as spontaneous and just put up my camera and took a video, and we love that, right? So the standard has changed, and authenticity has also found a different, got a bit of a facelift, and I think it's made it a little bit easier for us to just be a little bit lighter on ourselves and not be so hard on ourselves, and not try to be so perfect, and do what you're doing, Josh. Just put it out there and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was watching an Instagram coach on YouTube a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how, like, the old stuff, like your old thing, oh, it's got to be 9 p.m. and these are my times, and the audience needs to see it then. That's the old advice now, and even the stuff you're talking about, it is reels now. Like, it's funny, I keep getting stuck thinking, oh right, I got to post the perfect photo. But things change. So I can't be beating myself up for not doing something 2 years ago because it was different 2 years ago. And that's what I've realized.
There's going to be another thing.
Yeah,
There's going to be another
change.
thing, and another thing, and another thing,
like
and another
Perez
thing. Yeah.
Hilton became the biggest blogger because he was the first blogger. Even Joe Rogan became the biggest podcaster because he was first. We were talking about this 10 years ago. I was like, I want to do podcasts like this guy. And, if he started today, would he have been the biggest? Probably not, but because he was doing it. And so you were even talking about the audience, and it's so true. Like, the audience is different. Like, it's on TikTok, very different crowd than Facebook. And for a while there, I was posting, like, every time I did a long video, here it is on YouTube, here it is on Instagram. And people aren't going to sit on Instagram watching my 10-minute vlog, although maybe they would have years ago. But even things have changed. Like, it used to be even back on YouTube, it could only be a 10-minute video. That was your limit. So I was doing this talk show with this woman 15 years ago, and if we went 15 minutes, I would have to post it in 2 parts. Like it was, and I've been thinking, I got to go back and paste those together. Like, no, I'm never going back to post those 15-year-old videos again. So things keep changing. You just have to keep adapting. Even all the people.
And also just finding your audience. You know, like we say, the Gen Zs are on TikTok. They are lovely women who have been in the industry for decades in gardening, right, and have a wealth of knowledge and are on TikTok keeping things super short and simple. And for the youngin' like I, who really has no idea how to garden, I'm learning, right? And I wouldn't necessarily be the most obvious target audience, maybe, but it's very clear. I'm the lady who has been planting pink flowers for 50 years, and I am someone who wants to know how to grow pink flowers for the next 50 years of my life, and so I want to follow her. So I think
part of that is
your audience can be everywhere, but just find them.
I mean that's true. Like, and that's what
or let them find you.
And that's what I discovered even like a month ago. Like, this is all like a constant process for me. Like, when I started my keto diet on December 18th, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna film my progress. So I think I filmed one reel quickly, but then I filmed another like 5-minute video. Here's what I ate today, whatever. And I posted a couple of those on YouTube. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do 5 minutes every day about this, or 10 minutes, but I could do a reel every day. So for like a month, I just filmed 30 seconds of here's my fat, here I'm getting skinnier, here's what I'm eating. And I just kept posting those on TikTok. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, and on reels. And I find that those get the most views. Now, I don't want that to become my thing. I'm not the keto guy, but it sort of fits in a bit with I'm the self-improvement guy, always kind of like Tim Ferriss, always doing.
And not to forget that those 5 minutes are a fleeting moment in time. Hey, you spend a good hour editing and cutting and whatever. Someone swipes that in 3 seconds, man. Yeah. And sure, it's an imprint in someone's mind, and you definitely care, what impression you might be putting out there to some degree. And so, yes, it is important to maybe just consider what it is that you might be posting. But there is so much content out there, and there is so much to consume, that you might just be one fleeting moment in their day, and that's also okay.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing.
And
like, it's okay to be, a 10-second thing. Like that guy, Naz Daily on Facebook got big from just doing a 1-minute video every day, and that's enough. Like, I listen to the Ben Shapiro show for like an hour every day, but that's a lot of time to devote to someone. But even the 5-minute videos, I wasn't editing. Like, I was like, I've decided a while ago, and once I have to edit something, like I was interviewing celebrities at or I was doing a vlog at the film festival in Toronto a few years ago, and I thought, okay, every morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the festival, and then I'm going to come home that afternoon and edit it into a cool vlog. And I tried doing that one day, and it took the entire next day to edit this thing, and I'm like, I've missed the film festival, because I thought I was going to be like, what's that guy on the vlogger that vlogged every day from New York? Casey Neistat. I'm like, he does a 10-minute vlog every day, but I don't know how he did it. I don't know. I watched a video once, and it was like, he gets up at 4 a.m. with his kids and edits. I'm like, whatever. So when I was researching last week, I was posting in every podcast group on Facebook saying, should I do 2 separate podcasts? And they're like, no, it'll take too much time. I'm like, no, it's not more time for me, because I don't edit. Like, I'm not editing this. If I had to go back and listen to this again and edit it, I would never post it. So I just record the raw interview, and boom, it's up. So it'll just be having to. It was more my concern with splitting my audience, but I think that's okay. Like, because we've been talking about, like MySpace used to be, you could have a MySpace music page or a MySpace comedy page. Like, there was different topics, and so I had a music page for my music and another one for my comedy. And then Facebook and YouTube came along, and it was like, you've got one thing. But I think it's going back the other way. You can divide it. Like, I haven't wanted to split my Instagram. See, that's the thing. I look at like Amy Schumer, and like she's got one Instagram, or Gary Vee, one big thing where he does all his stuff, and I'm like, is that splitting my audience? If I have an Instagram for, my vlogging, but now I've got another Instagram for just my cartoons or just my music, or what the hell am I? But maybe it's like you're saying, you've only got so much time, so maybe pick something and combine it a bit. Like, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm Spark the Genius. I like learning about things, but it's all kind of got the theme of improving yourself, and then I can do a cartoon about improving myself, and then people maybe will like that as part of it. Like, it doesn't have to be separate media, but I don't know where I was going with. I wrote notes with all the things I was going to say, because everything you say like triggers something else in my head.
We might have to have another episode of this because I have a hard stop at 5:30.
Okay, good, because we're almost, this has been 50 minutes, and that's the other thing I've realized, that these shouldn't go on for too long, because people aren't going to listen. But I hope we can talk lots more. And yeah, the one other thing I thought of when you were talking about how, like, when I just left a comment on LinkedIn and I just got an interview like this, my problem is that things like that seem obvious to me. Of course, message somebody on like comment and say be on my show, but to me it almost seems too easy. Like, I feel sometimes like I can see the Matrix, like I'm Neo at the end of the movie, and I can see the numbers and how it's all working, but when I do something I'm like, oh, that's too obvious. Like, it can't be that easy to just comment and that's how you do it. But I think maybe I do get things, and I forget that most people don't get. And probably a lot of us suffer with this. Like, we think, oh, we know everything about everything, and everybody else must know everything we know, but they don't. So, like, you can still teach. Oh, and the other one thought I wanted to say, you were talking about the woman with the pink flowers. Like, a lot of it is people like to see people who are excited about something. I had a friend in university from France who really loved jazz, and so we would go to jazz shows together. And I didn't like jazz, but I loved that he loved jazz. And so this guy, there's that British guy who's big on Instagram and TikTok, where he films trains. Like, he really loves trains, and every day he films another train or gets on the train, and he's gone huge. And I looked through his Instagram, and he only started it like a year ago, but people love, and I don't think it's that people have always been hungry to hear about old trains in England, but they love how enthusiastic he is about it. And they're like, I just love seeing how happy he is. So it's like your pink flower woman. Hey, she's so happy with her flowers. I want to be happy like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, by the way, where are you? Are you sitting at a hotel?
Yes, I'm actually at a workspace where a lot happens. So, it's been a fun day for me. I like this new change of work from home and hybrid. Yeah, I like being outside and having people work and eat, and it's wonderful.
That's my dream. That's why that was my like when I sold the condo and I didn't go back to a job. I'm like, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working remotely. I'm going to sit, at a workspace and talk to other networkers. And now I feel like maybe I'm too old to do that, but I still want to do it. And it's nice to see you doing it. And so, what do you think? Where should we leave me? Like, if we do we do regular check-ins, like what's Josh's website or Spark the Genius or whatever. What's my assignment? Should I make a Zendaya type blog on?
I think, boy, and this is, I'm spitballing here. This is just I've never suggested this in my life, but I would say try and gain or engage with 5 people every week, which is 1 person a day, and get them to be someone who follows you, or convert them into someone who's part of your community. And see how that
I
snowballs.
I feel like I'm doing that. Like, every time I post in a politics group or some other group, like, I get new followers on Facebook, but I don't have the central. What you need is the call to action. Like, I want you part of. Like, I was thinking maybe I need to make a member vault, but now they're changing from free to paid, and I don't even know what member vault is. It's kind of like Facebook groups where you own your community. But Jen has all her newsletters on Substack, so I was thinking of starting like a Substack newsletter where it's just, here's my thoughts on James's podcast today, or my little daily tip of the day. Like, and that way you can say, look, I've got this many followers.
Pick a channel and go.
And then I thought maybe my thing is the podcast, like, just, because it's video, it's audio. Maybe I just interview a different person every day for an hour, and that's what I'm building. Like, rather than worrying about, it's my new TikTok, it's my little that. Like, I can still do those things, but the one main thing. Here's a quick little story. I flew to Israel 6 years ago for a trip, and when I was getting on the plane, I treated myself. I still had my job, so I was treating myself to first class so I could sleep on the plane. And the girl sitting behind me looked familiar, and I'm like, I feel like she dated Leonardo DiCaprio or something. So I Googled Leo girlfriends, and I was like, yes, it's Bar Raffaelli, the Israeli supermodel, sitting behind me. Oh my God, I'm going to be on a plane for 15 hours right beside her, or in front of her. This is it. I'm ready to go. And I sent my friend Tony, who does podcast, or I was going to do the podcast with, I sent him the picture with her behind me. He's like, oh my God, she was just on the Howard Stern show. And I thought, when I get back to Canada, one thing I have to do is start a podcast, so the next time I see a supermodel, here's my card, you can be on my podcast. and that's kind of why I started the podcast, so I could have that one place where I could have people on. She didn't want to talk to me on the plane. That never happened. But yeah, so that's, I guess this could be my thing, because I like these long form things. I'm not the person on TikTok like just lip syncing and doing silly dances and stuff. I feel like, what's the point of that? But okay, so I'll try to get. That's the thing. I guess I'll build a little website, like just something on Show It or Substack or somewhere where I can give people, because I want to make swag and I want to put Spark the Genius, but I was afraid to put at Spark the Genius because like, oh, you got to follow me on Instagram. Because Instagram, I don't want Mark Zuckerberg to own me. Like, I want to have my own .com or something that everybody goes to, and that's my thing. But I guess I'll figure it all out. But I'll keep working.
Looks like you will. I'm pretty sure you will figure it out. But I think, simpler is better, Josh. And I think you have all the answers. You don't need all the answers. It's probably just, consistency and just one channel, right? Not channel, but like just
one.
Go and have eye on the prize and like go with the end in mind. Like, what do you want? It sounds like you want financial independence. It sounds like you want freedom. It sounds like you want to meet people and learn from people. Then cool. Like, then go, okay, well, how much business perspective? Okay, well, how much is that? How much is that? How much is a lifestyle like that? Oh gosh, it's X amount. Okay, how much time do I have? Okay, I've got 2 years. Okay, well, how much do I have to make every month in order for that to happen in 2 years? Oh, okay, well, I have to make a couple $100. Okay, well then, what is worth a couple $100? Right? What have I created that is worth $100? And I mean, you can figure that out by doing some research and blah blah blah. But then, maybe it's not a video, maybe it's an entire ebook, right? That's like $29, right? And that's sold on your website. And then, No,
my problem is I'm thinking way bigger. Like, if I wanted money, I could go back as a copywriter and make a couple $100,000 a year writing commercials, and that'd be done. Or like even a few years ago, I saved up some money and invested in stocks, and I made $1 million in a month. But then I was stupid and I didn't sell, and it went back down. So I've had money. I know I can make money. Like, if I go do a voice gig right now, I could make $500 like in 10 minutes. So it's those little things I know I can do, but I want to be bigger. At this point, I want to be a Tony Robbins or Richard Branson. I want to have an island,
cool.
And I want to combine helping people with my comedy. So I can go and give a 20-minute TED Talk that's just talking about, hey, how I started a podcast, but be entertaining, but also helping people. Because comedy for the sake of comedy seems like it's almost like a waste. But I mean,
well, I believe you've got all of those components.
So great.
So I think you're on the right trajectory.
Well, thank you, and hopefully you'll come back and on my podcast, and we'll check in, and I'll fill you in on what I've been working on. You're very inspirational. And is there anywhere you want people to visit you, or what's your thing, so I can plug you at the end?
Yes, I am mainly on LinkedIn. That's my favorite social media platform. And on Instagram, that's where I'm I'm open to sort of conversation and short chats. It's my name, Tumelo Setlaba. My handle on Instagram is What the Tech Tumelo.
Oh, I like it.
Tumela? Yeah, thanks.
Did you say?
So, yeah.
What the
it's What the Tech Tumelo. That's actually how you pronounce my name.
Oh, Tumelo. Sorry, I was thinking that was some other word. Oh, yes. Okay, that's
no, I don't.
Your name. I'm looking at. I was thinking a D in my head. Dumelo. What's that? Is that a South African
expression?
What the Tech Tumelo? Okay. So, all right. Well, good.
Yep.
I'll put the links in the description below, because that's what they do on the podcast and the YouTube. And we'll check in. And
hey, it's what's done.
Hopefully, in a month, I'll be a billionaire, and I will come sit and do some work with you in Johannesburg.
Godspeed.
All right, thanks. Bye for now.
Yes, bye.